Okay, so we've completed the login system. We're able to log ourselves in if our account is activated. And obviously we're going to be dealing with the email activation later, but we've got this problem that we've come across now that we need to output any errors that occur during the session, during the login process. So if, for example, I was to provide an incorrect password and I go ahead and click login, we see this array, which is fine. We're returning any data that, any errors that are relevant to this login process. However, what we're not doing is displaying them in a way that makes sense to the user. If we had, say, three different errors, for example, or two different errors in this case, because the only time we can have more than one error is if one of these is true, which will only be one, and then whether this one's true here. So it will be, say, for example, oh, actually no, so it'll only really ever show one of these, but if we had more checks, so for example, the string length of the data that's entered, we might want to validate that. Then that might come, you might say, for example, enter a really long username, and you're checking the string length against, say, the maximum of, I don't know, however much we set it to, so 26 or 30, whatever we set it to. But you may have more than one errors. That's why we store them in this array, because we can append to the array and store as many errors as we like. So we're just going to be showing, let's go ahead and give an example. I'm going to go ahead and create another check for the string length, just so we can demonstrate more than one output. So I'm going to say here, let's just say else. And by the way, this isn't really the way we should be doing it. We should be appending it onto here, but I'm going to go ahead and do it in here just to demonstrate. So if you wanted to add any additional validation, you can add it either to the else if, which would be the more appropriate way to do it, because it would sort of chain downwards, or you could include it within this else, which would it would output two errors. So we might not enter a username in one field, we might get to this stage where we say else, and then we have more than one error. So we might have a long username or long password, and the username and password combination might be correct. So what we're aiming for here is to have a string length check, and we're going to purposely enter the incorrect username and password. So I'm going to say if string length, so using the string length function, of the username, and we need to go ahead and pull up our database table. So let's look at the structure here. We've got a 32 maximum on the username and the password. Remember that the password will be 32 characters, because we're using an MD5 hash here, and it will most of the time render to a 32 character string. So in this case, we'll just go ahead and we'll check the username. Remember, this is just as an example. So if the string length username is greater than 32, then we want to append something onto our errors array, and this is going to be username too long. Okay, so this is just a pure example. Like I said, you may have other requirements for this system. Inside of here, let's go ahead and just type in Alex, and we'll copy and paste that a few times. And then we'll do the same for password. We'll just paste anything in. Now you see when I click, we can't find that username. Have you registered? Yes, of course. Okay, so let's change this to password, and I'll say password too long. Again, it's an example. I'm going to go ahead and just paste a load of stuff in here. So now what's going to happen is the username is going to be found, the password and the username combination are going to be incorrect. So we'll have password is too long, and that username and password combination is incorrect. So if you're struggling to understand this concept, I'd go through and sort of work out how you want to do things. So you might want to, in this instance, it's more useful in a registration form, because you may want to display that the username is missing, the first name is missing, and signify which fields the user has to do in. So when we get to the registration form, this will be a bit different. But anyway, for now, we need to go ahead and develop this this functionality. Let me just go and put that back in. I don't know why I removed it. This functionality to output these errors properly. Okay, so we're going to be creating a function called output errors. And what this function is going to do is it's going to take this array, it's going to loop through each element of the array and return an unordered list. So it's quite not strange, but it might be something that you're not used to. So what we're going to do is we're actually just going to think about the setup of this logically. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this header include just down here, and I'm going to include it here. And then here I'm just going to sort of get rid of everything. And then in here is going to go my markup. So let me just spell that correctly. So we're getting the same look and feel to this. It works exactly the same way. However, we are doing all of the logic up here at the top of our page, and any output's going to go in here. So we're doing the logic at the top and the output down here. So another thing we need to do is if the data is not empty, so i.e. there's something in it, then we do this stuff here. But otherwise, we actually need to do something. We need to do something because if we were to just land on this login.php page, let me just give an example. I'm going to say echo landed, and this is coming from the else from this first if statement here. You can see this red, this has been highlighted here, else echo landed. So for example, if I go to log in with just a load of rubbish details, nothing happens. If I just go and land on this page, we get this landed up here. So we know that we don't want the user to just land on this page. Now we can do several things. We can append something to the errors array. So I'm just going to say sort of no data received. Okay, yeah, no data received. But you can redirect them with a header redirect. You know, it doesn't make a difference. But yeah, let's go ahead and get this errors function out of the way with. Okay, so we've got our markup here. This is where we're going to be doing all the logic. So we know that now. I'm going to go ahead and we haven't created a general functions. Oh, we have. Okay, so I'm going to use the general function file for this because it sort of comes under general functions. So let's go ahead and create this output errors function. So we obviously say output errors. And what do we need to pass in? Well, we need to pass in an array, and that will I'm just going to call that errors in this case. So we're going to define a variable called output, and that's going to be an array. So actually, no, we don't need to do that. Oh no, we do. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So what's going to happen is we're going to loop through the errors, and we're going to put them inside of this output variable. Actually, no. There's a lot easier way. There's a one-line way that we can do this. And do bear with me. In fact, I might do it the long way first. So yeah. Okay. So output equals array. I'm going to use a for each construct, and this basically will loop through the elements of the array. So we're going to say for errors as error. Now what this will do is I'm just going to echo error for now, and I'm going to append, say, a comma onto it. Inside of login.php, let's just close that. We'll go ahead and we'll say output errors errors. So we're passing this errors variable that we're appending to, this array that we're appending to, into this output errors function, and we now know that we're going to go through each of these and just output them with a comma. So I'm going to refresh, no data received, we've got a comma on the end there. If I type Alex and then an incorrect password, the username combination is incorrect. So we can already see this. And if I was to go ahead and enter Alex and then a really long password as I did before, we've got password too long, comma, that username password combination is incorrect. So we're outputting more than one error. In this case, we don't want to do that. We want to append to this new variable, this new array, sorry. And what we want to do is we want to put this within li tags, which will eventually go within an unordered list item element. So we place the error within these, and then what we do is here we return, and we need to use a UL, and this is where it starts to get slightly tricky. We want to go ahead and append something on here. In fact, I've used commas here where they should be dots, if you like. Okay, so I'm going to implode within here, and implode's basically going to take it's the opposite of explode. Explode will take a string and have a character that it wants to explode by, and it will place each object or each string or whatever into an array. This will do the opposite, and it will use an array and it will put it into a string. And what we want to do is we want to set the delimiter there, which is just nothing, and then we want to pass through the output. So this might look confusing, but essentially what we're doing is we're taking each error and placing it into an li element, and then we are returning the imploded of this output here. So we're basically placing each error within its own li tag, if you like, or element within this ul element. So let's go ahead and check this out in the browser. What's happened? Oh, sorry, yeah, we're returning this value, so we need to go ahead and echo output errors. Okay, so now we've got an unordered list. I'm going to go ahead and inspect this. You can see we've got a UL, and then LI here, and LI here. Beautiful, it's worked perfectly. So we've got UL, LI, LI, UL. So the errors are contained within LIs. And this is a really semantic way to display your errors. So this is why we're doing it this way. I know it's long-winded, but you know, if you can get your head around this, you can get your head around pretty much anything. So there is an easier way to do this. We could obviously skip all of this step here, and we could just pass in the errors. But we need to make some additional changes. We need to say LI here. We need to end the LI here. And we need to end an li here and start an li here. So now when I go ahead and I refresh, we get exactly the same thing. So we've got ul, li, li, ul. So we've got our overall ul and two li's in the middle, and that's done with just using this. And the reason this works is when it implodes, it places this at the start of the element, and then this at the start of the element, and then it puts the error in, and then we've obviously got these outer ones as well. So there we go, we can do that within one line. Very simple. So now we actually need to check whether there are any errors, and then go ahead and output any errors if there are. So let's go ahead and do that now. I'm going to say if, pull that down a bit, if empty errors is equal to false, i.e. if there are any errors, if we have any errors, we are going to loop through our errors, and we've already established the way that we loop through the errors, so that's fine. So I'm going to say breakout of PHP. I'm going to create a h2 tag. I'm going to say we tried to log you in, but, and then here I'm going to go ahead and we'll just do this within here, break in and echo output errors, passing that errors variable. So now what's going to happen is I'm going to refresh, repass that data. We tried to log you in, but password too long, the username password combination is correct, blah blah blah. So we'll type Alex and then just password 1, for example. We get that username password combination is incorrect. If we log in successfully, it works. Okay, so that's this part here redirecting us. So this has been a long and painful process, but I just wanted to get over the logic of this. So we've changed this around a bit, where we've got our header just down here, and we've got our logic at the top, and then our output down here. We've created this function which loops through any errors that we have stored in an array and outputs them. And you might be asking yourself, why are we actually doing this? Well, it just makes it extremely easy for us to collect errors and display them. All we need to do now, is, if there are any errors, is just this, and this just checks if there are any errors. And otherwise up here we're locating to a different page, setting the session, etc. So that's how we've done the error handling in the login and register script. I know it's been long, but hopefully you've learned something from this.